Welcome back to Q Dads. I'm Ste, and the penultimate episode of Sunny has just dropped, which was by far one of the craziest, but also one of the best episodes so far. I'm not sure if the episode had me wiping tears of joy or sorrow. This episode is all set in Sunny's mind, as we left in episode 8 falling deep within our own subconscious. We now get to see this play out in a quirky Japanese style game show, which I absolutely loved. It was so cheesy and over the top, I couldn't help but smile the whole way through. This leaves us asking the question at the very end, which I'm going to call round 4, did Sunny really wipe herself? So before we dive into that bonus round, please like and subscribe, as it helps us to grow, especially as we approach what we're calling our Winter of Wonders, with From, Silo, Squid Game and Severance. You won't want to miss mine and Ben's excellent thoughts, opinions and sometimes wacky theories. So this episode is all set in a Japanese style game show with the hosts of Yuki Tanaka, Masa's Ematech lab assistant, and also Noriko, Masa's mom. The game show is called Should Sunny Wipe Herself? Meaning that as she falls deeper into her own subconscious, should she make that conscious decision to wipe herself to factory settings, resetting all her memories and traits, or should she continue as she is and potentially put those she loves in harm's way? From the offset, I really did enjoy this episode, all the way through as well, but just the fact that it's something so different and so refreshing from what we've already seen, and it just puts another spin, bringing out the quirkiness of Sunny that we really enjoy. And it's also like having a season 1 recap that I didn't know I needed. Also, I love the whole subconscious of her referenced as a map hole, similar to when Masa was playing the game with the crow and went beyond the map. A lovely bit of detail there. So, we start the game show off with round 1. And this obviously determines whether she has a heart of gold or is she an abomination. We get to meet 3 returning guests. One being Joey the bird, which was actually a little bit creepy to watch as the dead bird came back to life. But ultimately, Joey does return because Sunny did let him down. Now personally, this one I question. Did Sunny do wrong? The bird was already on the floor and would have died anyway. So Sunny trying to help it didn't seem bad to me. I guess the only bad thing you could say is that she disobeyed Susie. But I'm just saying, I'm with Sunny on this one. We see the return of the guy who owns the adult shop, who told Mixie where to go to get the code, which ended up leading to the bot fighting. And of course, it looks like he got a severe beating from the Yakuza. Again, not something Sunny did wrong in my personal opinion. And then we have Mixie. I won't repeat the second word because Sunny clearly has strong feelings about her. Sunny still has this wild hatred for Mixie, and Ben agrees and thinks that Mixie is part of the whole operation and is actually befriending Susie for a higher purpose. Now, this whole segment was actually interesting, as it shows us just how sophisticated Sunny is. As I said, 2 of the 3 boxes I don't think were Sunny's fault, but clearly, as this is all in her head, she feels guilt, and guilt at a human level. Questioning each of her decisions, I assume most people can understand or relate to this, so it's really interesting to see just how well Masa coded Sunny, and it makes me ask the question, just how close is Sunny's AI to a human brain? Following on, Sunny then of course realises that the game show isn't fair and this isn't working in her way. So she turns to the crowd who are voting whether she should be wiped or not wiped. And it turns out this crowd is solely Masa, with one standing out from the rest. We then get round 2. Now this gives us the whole backstory of how Sunny was created. Sunny was in fact 1 out of 6 homebots that were created for this, all presumably with different numbers, as we saw number 6, 17 and 32. It tells us the story of these homebots and that Masa created them, but with a bit more emotional depth, to be able to counteract the loneliness and also to help people from a similar situation that he was in himself when he was grieving after the death of his father. And just before the round finishes, we finally see the first robot fight happening during a dental examination. We also see Masa explain how he always patched code around these fights, and he ends up calling this one Junk League, which obviously is the name of the fighting robot event. Which then makes me think, can the robots in the Junk League only attack other robots purely because they have that bit of code in them? Which, as we can see, Massa only deletes the code to stop robots attacking each other. Which does explain why Hime needs Sunny. Following all of these events, this then kicks off the final round.
Round 3. How the fuck did this shit get so fucked up?
It goes back to the very first scene where we saw robot number 17 murder what was a robot love interest and also kills the human. This then forced Massa to take Sunny home and with the help of Yuki amend the code as a protection for Susie and Zen. We also learn that Sunny's name originates from the number 32. Now, I study a little Japanese and I did always think the katakana for the show, reading as Sani and the English translation being Sunny, felt a little off. I just assumed that was just how I was pronouncing it. But for the pure payoff of 32 being broken down into 3 and 2 or San and Ni was perfect. Again, this show has done this time and time again with these little brilliant details. Following that, Sunny realises that the whole of this reality that she's in, she then uncovers the truth. The truth that Tanaka, Massa's assistant, was in fact working for the Yakuza, as he seems to tamper with the code of these robots, which ultimately caused that initial disaster. And of course, this led to the leak of the Dark Manual, as Massa seemed to remove it from the robots, and presumably caused the initial chase by the Yakuza. Now, following on from my previous comments about the bit of code that causes robots to attack each other, in that scene, when he removes the code, he documents it. Whereas, when he removes the code from 17, although it seems to put it in the Dark Manual, he doesn't name the event. And it seems to me that people digging around in the Dark Manual are finding things based on the event name. So, does this actually mean the code for attacking humans is somewhere in the Dark Manual? It's just Massa never got time to actually document it properly, so no one has actually found it yet. We then get a quick shot of Hime as she essentially explains to Sunny that she has been bad all along and throughout the whole of the series. We've slowly been building up to this, and actually she may have just sped along the process. And then as Sunny begins to see all the kind of things that she's done for Susie, all the support that she has offered her, she has to make the choice whether to wipe or not wipe. And now, this is where it gets a little bit controversial for me. Sunny clearly chose the door to wipe, and continued through it as the light came through to her, presuming that this is the door that she chose. But I don't think that is right. Again, Sunny controls this whole reality, the map hole. So what about if the door she's choosing is wipe, but subconsciously she's already chosen to not wipe from the very get-go? It's almost like she's chosen this sacrificial route, which she meant to do, but yet still rewarded at the end by keeping her memories and murder aside. That's what I think is going to happen, and I just don't think she'd really reboot herself after everything that she's been through. And this then all again makes me question. This is almost like what a human would do. Did Massa almost succeed in creating a perfect AI? As all through the episode, the robots have human emotions. Massa talks a lot about love and how it is good, and in Sunny's words, shit. I almost think this is what makes them break their code, and like humans, people often do the craziest things for those they love. And each fighting instance, the person or robot they love is the reason for breaking the code. In the dentist chair, the patient is being hurt. Sunny thinks Mixie is going to hurt Susie. And finally, 17 attacks the other robot because she stopped loving him. Again, you could argue a crime of passion. So it all just feels to me like Massa did what he set out to do. Created a robot that can fill the loneliness void left by people. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you think she wiped herself or not? And has he created a perfect companion for his fellow lonely humans? Now overall, the episode was actually great, and I think it's probably one of the better episodes. The quirkiness of the show was just completely brought out in this episode. The subtle details of when Sunny was swearing, but it was not quite censored and you could still make out what she was saying, and the fact when round 3 came up, the words were also blurred. It was just fantastic. I think this was a nice tie-up, ready for the end of the season, and kind of answered a few of those questions that we still had, and brought back a few characters that we quite liked. and just kind of summarise the series as a whole so far. But this leads to a question about what's going to happen in the final episode next week. Again, the big question is, has Sunny wiped herself or not? And of course, is Massa alive? This is still the big question that has not been answered. Now, I think he is. And yes, you know we've hinted at the clues before, that Massa was in the shower in the same room as Yuki when Noriko tried to call. And I just think now that they've got Zen, they're going to search for Massa. And they're all going to be reunited at the end. Which then again, as I alluded to, maybe we'll set up a Season 2 match with Jin and a bigger battle against the Yakuza. Is that a stretch too far or not? And also for Ben's wild theory, is Mixie actually working for the Yakuza? And is that going to be the big twist at the end? Let us know your thoughts, and as always, we'll catch you next time with something new.